The voice that launched 1,000 memes. Mel Blanc's car accident changed Bugs Bunny forever. In 1961, the voice of Bugs Bunny was in a near-fatal car crash that left him in a coma for 2 weeks. When doctors couldn't wake him, they tried talking to his cartoon characters. "How are you feeling today, Bugs Bunny?" Finally got a response. Just fine, Doc." "How are you?" This accident revealed something incredible. Blanc's cartoon voices were so deeply embedded in his brain that they existed almost as separate personalities. The incident led to a new understanding of how voice acting affects the mind and established Blanc as more than just a performer. He became a psychological phenomenon. The publicity around his recovery made Bugs Bunny even more famous and cemented the idea that cartoon characters could have real psychological lives. The technical error that launched Cartoon Network. The creation of Cartoon Network was damage control. Turner Broadcasting had acquired Hanna-Barbera's massive cartoon library, but had no idea what to do with it. The plan was to use these cartoons as cheap filler content on other networks. When that strategy failed and they were stuck with thousands of hours of animation, they desperately launched a 24-hour cartoon channel just to recoup their investment. Nobody expected it to succeed. Cartoon Network was supposed to be a temporary solution to a financial mistake. Instead, it became the most influential animation platform in history. Shows like Dexter's Laboratory, The Powerpuff Girls, and Adventure Time exist because Turner Broadcasting accidentally created a space where experimental animation could flourish. The mistake that created adult animation. The Flintstones was supposed to be for kids. Hanna-Barbera created it as a primetime family show, but they accidentally included adult themes that went over children's heads. Fred and Wilma sleeping in the same bed was revolutionary for television. The show's references to gambling, drinking, and marital problems were meant to appeal to parents watching with their kids. The mistake was thinking they could balance adult themes with child-friendly content without consequences. The Flintstones became the first cartoon to deal with serious issues like infertility, adoption, and domestic disputes. When Wilma couldn't get pregnant, the show addressed it directly. This complexity proved cartoons could handle adult subjects, paving the way for The Simpsons, South Park, and every adult animated series that followed. The budget cut that revolutionized animation. Hanna-Barbera's limited animation was born from desperation, not creativity. When television demanded cheaper content than theatrical shorts, William Hanna and Joseph Barbera had to figure out how to make cartoons for 1/10 the budget of Disney films. Their solution was cutting corners everywhere: static backgrounds, repeated animation cycles, and characters who only moved their mouths when speaking. This unintentionally created a new art form. Shows like The Jetsons, Yogi Bear, and Scooby-Doo proved that personality and storytelling could overcome technical limitations. Limited animation forced creators to focus on character development and dialogue instead of elaborate visual effects. Without this budget-driven innovation, television animation as we know it wouldn't exist. The casting error that defined a generation. Bart Simpson was supposed to be voiced by a boy. Matt Groening specifically wanted a male child actor for Bart, so Nancy Cartwright auditioned for Lisa instead. When she saw Bart's description, she impulsively read his lines instead of Lisa's. Her raspy, mischievous delivery was so perfect that they hired her immediately. This casting created one of television's most iconic voices. Cartwright's adult woman voicing a troublemaker boy gave Bart a unique sound that child actors couldn't maintain across years of recording. Her performance influenced how animated children would be voiced forever. Most cartoon kids are now voiced by adult women who can provide consistency and personality that actual children can't match. The censorship battle that changed everything. The Ren and Stimpy firing showed what happens when creative vision clashes with network expectations. John Kricfalusi's extreme approach to animation and humor constantly put him at odds with Nickelodeon executives. His refusal to tone down content and meet deadlines led to his removal from his own show. This mistake had massive consequences. Kricfalusi's firing proved that networks would choose commercial viability over artistic integrity, leading many creators to seek alternative platforms. It also demonstrated that cartoon creators could become celebrities in their own right, with fans following specific artists rather than just shows. The controversy around Ren and Stimpy's creative battles influenced how every subsequent animated series would negotiate between artistic vision and network demands. The voice actor strike that rewrote history. The 1979 voice actor strike accidentally launched careers and destroyed others. When major voice actors demanded better pay and working conditions, studios initially refused and started hiring non-union talent. Trying to replace established voices led to the discovery of new talent who would define animation for decades. Many iconic voice actors got their start as strike replacements who were supposed to be temporary. The strike also forced studios to realize how valuable voice talent really was, leading to better contracts and recognition for voice actors. Without this labor dispute, the voice acting industry would never have professionalized to the level it achieved. The format error that created binge watching. Dragon Ball Z's padding was a production nightmare. The anime was catching up to the manga too quickly, so producers had to create filler content and stretch scenes to ridiculous lengths. Fights that took minutes in the source material were extended across multiple episodes. Characters would power up for entire episodes, while others watched in shock. This accidentally created appointment television and binge-watching culture. Fans couldn't just watch one episode, they needed to see what happened next, even if next week's episode was mostly screaming and powering up. Dragon Ball Z proved that audiences would tolerate pacing problems if they were emotionally invested in the outcome, influencing how every subsequent action anime would structure their episodes. The network programming error that saved shows. Adult Swim existed because of leftover airtime. Cartoon Network needed programming for late-night hours when kids weren't watching. Instead of showing reruns, they accidentally created a space for experimental, adult-oriented animation. Shows like Space Ghost Coast to Coast and The Brack Show were cheap ways to fill time slots nobody cared about. This programming mistake became the most influential animation block in history. Adult Swim proved there was an audience for weird, experimental cartoons that didn't fit anywhere else. Without this accidental discovery, shows like Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, and countless other experimental animations would never have found their audience. The translation error that changed an industry. Pokémon's English dub was supposed to be terrible. The original Japanese producers expected the American version to fail because previous anime adaptations had flopped. They gave the English dubbing team minimal oversight, expecting it to be a cheap cash grab that would disappear quickly. This hands-off approach accidentally created the perfect gateway anime for Western audiences. The English dub team had the freedom to adapt cultural references, change character personalities, and restructure episodes for American television. Their mistakes in translation made Pokémon more accessible to Western viewers than a faithful adaptation would have been, proving that cultural adaptation was sometimes more important than accuracy. The digital animation mistake that changed everything. Flash animation was supposed to be temporary. Early web cartoons used Flash because it was the only affordable way to create animation for the internet. Shows like Homestar Runner and Happy Tree Friends used Flash because traditional animation was too expensive for online content. This cheap solution accidentally revolutionized animation production. Flash animation was faster, more flexible, and allowed for experimental styles that traditional animation couldn't achieve. When television discovered Flash animation could produce shows for a fraction of traditional costs, it transformed the entire industry. Shows like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, proved Flash could create television-quality content. The marketing mistake that created a phenomenon. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was supposed to be a one-shot parody. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird created it as a joke, combining popular comic trends: teenagers, mutants, ninjas, and turtles. They expected to sell a few hundred copies to friends and comic collectors. Their marketing mistake was taking the parody seriously and trying to build a franchise around a joke. The resulting cartoon became a global phenomenon that influenced action cartoons for decades. The success of TMNT proved that absurd concepts could work if executed with genuine commitment, encouraging creators to pursue weird ideas that studios would have previously rejected. Why mistakes made better cartoons. These mistakes succeeded because they forced creativity under constraints. Budget cuts led to innovative techniques. Casting errors created unique performances. Technical problems resulted in experimental storytelling. Production accidents became happy accidents that defined entire genres. The animation industry's greatest successes came from people making the best of bad situations. These creators didn't have the luxury of perfect resources or unlimited budgets, so they had to innovate. Their solutions to immediate problems accidentally created new artistic possibilities that influenced animation forever. Which cartoon mistake do you think had the biggest impact on animation history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.